Joining me now is News Corp columnist Angela Mollard and news.com.au entertainment reporter Bronte Coy. Bronte, good news, the King is back. But the rumour mill got going again this week after, a couple of weeks of being shamed into the corner, this time with whispers of his apparently dire health and hurried funeral plans. Can you tell us what this was all about?
Yeah, look, it's obviously been quite a grim start to the year when it comes to royal health shocks. So people are a bit on edge, and we have seen what that can do. I've got to tell you, just as you said at the top of the show there was so much excitement and a lot of relief when this news broke on Friday evening UK time over here. People are quite elated to see that there's some return to normalcy for the head of the monarchy. But yeah, look, earlier this week, it had sort of been a line that surfaced that people picked up with, as they will, and ran with, which was about King Charles's funeral plans. Now, something important to note here is that the monarch's funeral plans is something that is laid out and carefully planned and upgraded regularly throughout their reign. So his plans were first laid out the day after the late Queen was buried. So this is something that's been around for some time. And of course, when it emerged that they had been upgraded again, given Charles's diagnosis, given his age, and given the fact that there hadn't been a whole lot of information about what he'd been battling, we don't know what type of cancer it is, people immediately jumped to that sort of very negative aspect of, it must be the end, it's all getting very dire. And we've seen what happens when that picks up and that's allowed to run. As you said, I think the palace has learned some lessons in that regard. And so they were quick to jump on that. And so here we are now with the news that Charles is looking at returning slowly. He is still in recovery and he's still getting treatment, but he's going to start returning to those public duties. So it has really quashed that alarm that was starting to spread and would have taken hold, as we saw with Kate earlier this year, had it been allowed to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And Angela, to kick off the King's return, he's visiting the families of cancer patients. I think that's just an excellent way for him to get back to official duties.
Yeah, well, look, the reason he's done this is that he wants to meet with the families. He and Camilla have talked about the fact that cancer just doesn't happen to the person who's suffering the illness. It impacts everyone around them, their partners, their children, their families. And he's very mindful of the impact on not just on sufferers, but as I say, on their families. He also very much wants to attach to that as a cause for the very first thing that he does. We know that it's 3 months since he's had an outward-facing engagement. He's going to turn up. We don't know what hospice or charity it is at this stage. That's kept under security. But it's very much he wants to put forward the message that even when you have treatment for cancer, even as you're going through it, you can still have a life. So quite a potent message there, and comes from, obviously, for the first time, a deep place of understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bronte, we understand there's also a bit of an update on Princess Catherine and her return to official duties. Again, it'll be a slow start for her, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. At the other end of the scale with Kate, we don't know what the timeline will be for that. There's so much patience and understanding and compassion for her. So there's no timeline on her return to public duties. There's also absolutely no feeling of a rush from the public, although, of course, she is missed from the public eye. So what we know is that she is still in treatment. She will have a recovery period, but we're starting to get an idea of what it might look like when she does eventually return. And that will be that they will be lowering the pressure of those engagements. She will have so much attention on her. There will be such a spotlight on her. There already was. You can only imagine when she returns after this extended period away. And so it's likely that she'll be doing more private engagements to begin with, things in a more contained setting with a lower amount of people, just to kind of allow her to ease back in and have that transition after what has undoubtedly been an unbelievably difficult time for her and the family. And it just allows her to ease in, and also to kind of manage the public expectation of what we can expect. You can't, after this period off and after battling through that, for her to just jump back in and be in front of crowds of thousands is a huge order. So yeah, it's good to see that this is probably the approach we'll be getting whenever that is. It is important to stress we have no idea when she will be returning.